Go.
Alright, we're going to show you how to replace the main interface board in your System 30M. It's relatively simple. The tools you'll need will be a number 2 Phillips screwdriver, a small flat-bladed screwdriver for the terminal blocks, and some wire clippers for any zip ties you might need to cut. So first, obviously, turn off the power on the existing printer, on the front and on the power supply. And all I did there is I hit the power button for a second to make sure the capacitors are discharged. Go through and disconnect all of your cables. I'm disconnecting the power cords right now. This is the internal USB, the tablet charging cable, and the reset cable. And down here it's kind of hard to see, but you have a small ribbon cable for the front panel. Might be kind of difficult to get in there. You might be able to kind of, there you go. And there are 4 Phillips screws on the corners of your board you need to remove. The old board comes out. The new board goes in the same way. I'm not tightening these screws all the way just until everything's aligned. Just going to make sure they're all started. Then I like to justify the board to the left so it presses against the shield and tighten them down. Alright, now I'm going to reconnect my cables. I've got my ribbon cable here. It's my internal USB. Okay. Now if you're operating from an external PC and you still have the tablet installed, you want to unplug the tablet or remove this cable so you're not crossing USB signals from 2 devices. Depending on what kind of power supply you have, you may have different types of connectors here. The important thing is for these center ones, yellow should all be on this side. For instance, this is a 3-pin, but it fits in the 4-pin connector. You just leave that one off. And if you have one of these with the removable 4 pins, make sure you don't have these 2 guys in there mistakenly, because that will ground out the 12 volts. So you have 2 more here. So just plug in as many of these as you can to get the maximum power out of your supply. There's our internal power cable and our 2 USB cables internally, and the RS-232 communications cable is going to go right here. Now make sure that's in the center of the connector. This connector can hold a larger connector. That's not proper. You want it to be centered. So all of those are on there. Depending on the age of your machine and which version you have, you may have these USB ports maybe on the side over here. So maybe a little different layout, but it all works the same. And you also, instead of a Phoenix connector plug, you may have some terminal strips here, in which case you would want to take the 4-pin Phoenix connector and attach it to your EMO switch or emergency cutoff switch and auxiliary power. And it looks like this. If you need to remove your emergency cutoff switch, there is an orange tab here. You press that in and it comes off. And if you reach in here, I can do the same thing inside the machine. If you have to change those wires, then you just line it up and snap it back into place. And we're good to go.
Put the power back on.
Alright, and anytime you do this, you'll need to, of course, reconnect the printer. And these procedures are on other videos, but you know you can refresh the comm link. Oops, go to. There we go, we're connected. Alright. Now if you want to run your printer from an external USB, you're going to do the same procedure, but you're going to plug your USB connector into the large, which one is that? Is that A? The USB A.
Yes, USB B.
USB B, the large USB jack here. And do the exact same procedure. One other point to note is these. You have these jumpers here beside the USB port, and these allow you to disable the external USB so you don't confuse your signals like I mentioned before. So if you're only going to be running from the external USB, you can put these two jumpers on the D plus and D minus, which is only for the control signal, and then unplug this one. If you want to have it where you can run it either way, you just want to make sure you unplug this internal USB so you don't have the tablet connected at the same time.